don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All right, folks. It is Nichols Live, and we'll try it again today. And I am Larry Nichols. Sorry about yesterday, but I got pretty sick, and I try not to get sick on the air, but I didn't have much choice yesterday. So I hope you're listening, and I hope you forgive me. I do everything I can to be here. Today's Friday. Let me tell you, if you want to be a part of today's program, the number is 501-499-6022. That's 501-499-6022. Give me just a few minutes before you start calling. And if you want to text a question or a comment, it is 440-897-0611. 440-897-0611. And today I've already gotten in from Grant, $2. Thank you, Grant. I got 200 in from Mary Ellen. Thank you, Mary Ellen. So that means we're $998 from what I've got to have on today. And I do need it, but that's your call. And I've got to tell you, I am impressed by the number of people that have text and let me know that they are in the Army. It's very important that we're in the Army. We're in the Army to try to save this country, desperately trying to save this country. And a couple of things have happened. Number one, of course, the terrorist attack in France. I guess by now you've all heard about it. Once again, it's the Muslims. Once again, it's fundamentalist Islamic terrorists. And they're hitting all over the world. That could have as easily have been America as it was France. We're going to have to get serious. Today, what I have heard is a little bit good news, I guess. More and more people are saying we've got to declare war against ISIS. That's right. Finally, people are saying we've got to declare war against ISIS. But it's more than just ISIS. ISIS is just the name of a group. What we have to declare war against is Sharia. Sharia. Newt Gingrich, who, by the way, the other news today is Mike Pence is Trump's vice president nominee. Mike Pence is who he chose. I know a lot of people were thinking he would choose Newt Gingrich. Many were hoping he would choose Newt Gingrich. Let me tell you my feelings about that. The job of vice president of the United States is probably one of the most worthless jobs in the country. As vice president, you've got nothing you can do. Nothing. So for those of you that want Newt Gingrich to be a part of Trump's government, he's best placed at a cabinet level. There he can do something. So I'm proud Trump picked Pence to be his vice president. I don't think Pence hurts him. I don't see him helping him, but I don't think he hurts him. Newt Gingrich said yesterday or day before something that I'm proud to hear somebody finally say. Of course, it will cause all kinds of trouble. But he said we need to declare war on Sharia law. Any Sharia law and our form of government cannot coexist. They cannot. You know, our government, our form of government, representative form of government, representative republic form of government, it is malleable. It will get along with most any and everything. It does. Our form of government is set up so that it can do just that. Followers of Sharia law can't. So when Newt Gingrich is saying that Sharia law and our form of government do not mix, he's telling the truth. It cannot mix. But he will be chastised for that. He will be accused of everything under the sun. But just know this, he told the truth. You see, under Sharia law, there is no room for any other form of existence. There's not. There can't be. He said that we're going to have to monitor the mosque. Remember, folks, remember the video I did, states' rights. Remember what I said in that video. We've got to monitor both overtly and covertly these mosques. He went on to say, followers of Sharia should be forced to register. Exactly what I said on the states' rights video. They should be forced to register. Why? Because we got to know where they are. We've got to know where they are at all times. We have to know. By the way, I just got 25 from Carla. Thank you, Carla. Carla's always there for us. Now, I know you're sitting there saying, or some of you are a new listener, maybe is listening and saying, I can't believe you would try to get all Muslims to have to register. Well, I would, and I do. I do expect that. And the reason I do is simple. Holy smokes, folks, I just got word we just broke 7,600 followers today on the air, 7,600. We're out of that 7,500 category. Now we're in 7,603. But having Muslims go to the courthouse and register, why? Why would we do that? Ladies and gentlemen, we should be under what's called a war footing right now. ISIS, if you don't want to say Islam, then say ISIS. ISIS has declared war on the United States of America. It has. And unless we declare war back, we're limited in scope to what we can or can't do. Can and can't do. Now, the problem with ISIS is you don't know which Muslims are a part of that group. You don't know. I got this from Miss Carla. You're welcome, Larry. I try to do what I can for you. We love you here, Larry. Thank you, Miss Carla. I know you do. I know you do what you can. I do. And I love you back. I appreciate you. But see, under a war footing, we can take action or must take action to protect the homeland. And the homeland is the United States of America. We could do like we did in World War II with the Japanese. Put all Japanese Americans in internment camps. Why did they do that? They had to. You know why? Because they couldn't tell which of the Japanese Americans were loyal to this country or which ones were loyal to the Emperor of Japan. You didn't know. So they rounded them up, put them in internment camps. I'm not asking for that. I'm not. What I am asking for is to at least know where they are. People in a community should know where the followers of Islam are in their community. Because contrary to public opinion, the people blowing people up all over this planet are not little old gray-haired lady Baptist. They're not Methodist. They're not Presbyterian. Do you know who they are? They're Muslims, followers of Islam. That's who they are. And we don't know which ones of them are the ones that are fixing to come and try to kill our families. So therefore, I say, and I follow in line with what Newt Gingrich said, which is we at least must require them to register so that we know. I've talked, about Gideon. Before I get into Gideon, I have a call Alden was telling me about. This is Teresa. Teresa, are you there?
Hi, Rick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, yes, ma'am. And I'm sorry about your son.
Thank you for your prayers, and what you said was beautiful. As far as Muslims, the Quran is the bottom line. That's all you got to say, the Quran, and that's it. There's nothing else to say. Also, I wanted to ask you if I live near a military installation, which I do. I live near the biggest military installation in the world. We've got everything there is. It truly is. And also the biggest mosque is in Michigan. So my two questions are, am I safer near the military installations? And how bad off is Michigan? Because they're getting pretty full of Muslims that, follow the Quran.
Right. Let me say this, Teresa. Relative to being next to the military base, you're okay. I don't know that you're any safer, but I know you're okay. You're certainly not any worse being close to that base. I don't think it's cause for you to be worried at all. Now, as far as Michigan is, well, all should know, Dearborn, Michigan has the largest Muslim community, I guess, in the country, announced Muslim community. In Michigan itself, it seems to be a gathering place. That's not good, Teresa. It's not good. Any day, I would not be surprised to wake up and hear that the Muslims in Dearborn have declared that part of Michigan a caliphate. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, what about the rural area in Michigan? Are they going to take that over? Because I know, like in Alpena, Michigan, the tanks have been practicing for something. A lot in Muskegon, Michigan, tanks have been practicing for something.
Well, if they declare in Dearborn or somewhere else to declare a caliphate, I really don't know exactly what our government would do. I really don't. Other than capitulate, I don't know. Under present leadership of Obama, I do not know. But Teresa, you have to just be aware. Be aware of what's around you. And remember that Muslims will kill Muslims. They will. So, I mean, by that, I'm saying they'll come in and blow up a bunch of Muslims with you because they believe the Muslims that they kill will become martyrs. It's tough, but I understand your situation, and I would just tell you this, Teresa, please be careful and just watch. Watch where you are, watch what you do, watch where you go, and always be aware. Be aware that you are amidst of a large group of them, a large group.
Well,
I mean,
my
does that
son
help you any?
I was hoping my son was going to take care of me, and he said he was, but he didn't have.
Well,
So you're saying I'm safer in the Virginia area with the military than I would be if I went back home to Michigan?
yes, by all means, yes to that. Yes, you're better in Virginia than you would be in Michigan. Yes.
Okay.
All right, my dear.
Those are my questions.
All right, thank you. And once again, sorry for your loss, son.
I know, sweetie. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, bye-bye. The lady just lost her son. So once again, pray for her. Her son's in a better place, truly, than we are. Back to the Gideon story. I learned a little bit more today about Gideon that might give y'all some hope, I hope. We all know the story of Gideon as it relates to, he was going to attack these, whoever they were, Filipinos or Italians, whatever the group was he was going to attack. Outnumbered tremendously. He built this big army. Thought it was 10,000. Apparently it was like 30 something thousand. And then God spoke to him. And God said, lead them down to water. And those that stick their face in the water and drink like animals, send them home. He was left with an army of about 300. So the Bible tells us that would be enough. That was enough. But this morning I found out a little more of the story that I guess I should have known. But it's very important because it connects to what we're doing. You see, Gideon was a force multiplier. That's right, force multiplier. Just like I'm trying to train all of us to be. Okay, I just got word it was Midianites. I can't tell a Midianite from a Philippianite and a Devianite, but anyway, he was out against the Midianites. But here's the part that was forced multiplication. And guys, that's what we're doing. That's what we're a part of, forced multiplication. You see, his 300 certainly was not enough to defeat the thousands of the Midianites. No way. But here's what he did. Here's what he was told to do by God. Every one of his soldiers, all 300, were given a trumpet. And then they were given a vase. And in that vase, they were to put a fire. Then he divided them into 3 groups. Now he's already down to 300. But then he split his group into 3 different companies. And they gathered all around the Midianites, their camp. And he told them to do what he did. And they were to watch him and do what he did. Now here's where the story deals with force multiplication. You see, when he was ready, At about midnight, I suppose, he had them blow their trumpets, and they all blew their trumpets together. And then he had them break open those vases with the fire in it. And it so confused and scared the Midianites that they started, in the confusion, killing each other. Some left, some killed each other. And that's the story of force multiplication. Force multiplication. They were hollering, blowing those trumpets, and breaking open those vases, and there was that fire. What did that mean? How did that work? Well, let me tell you. Just like it will work for us today. You see, he took a smaller force, knew it was smaller. But he had one thing going for him, folks. He had God. And the same God that was with Gideon then, I tell you, is with us today. Now, y'all, excuse me, I know it sounds like I'm getting preachy. I'm not getting preachy. I don't do preachy. But there are certain realities, certain truths that should be told. The same God that was with Gideon then can be with us today if we ask him. If we ask him. The trumpets in unison, all these trumpets. Now, what that meant back then, in battles of that day, the way they communicated from unit to unit was each unit. I got this great word. God will bless this fight. We are ready to shout. Thank you, listener. Each unit in that day had a trumpeter. And since they didn't have radios, they would blow the trumpet, which would give the command for the units to attack. So what the Midianites heard that night were 300 trumpets. And those trumpets represented 300 forces, different forces. And then he had them break the vases. And inside that were lights. The Midianites thought that was 300 different bases, 300 different camps with all of these soldiers in each camp. In that day, that was what they would do. That's how they would mark the site of the different armies, where they would put them. They would have a campfire. Midianites saw these fires, and they just knew they were surrounded by this huge, massive force. And they would shout. They were shouting. And depending on where you were standing, if you were a Midianite and all of these voices are shouting and trumpets blowing, my God, it sounded like the world was coming in on you. And what it turned out to be was just 300. 300. Now, here we are today. Here we are today. Number one, we still have the same God. The very same God that was on that field of battle that night stands with us today, if we ask him. The trumpets. The trumpet is part of the things our forefathers left us. Remember our voices collectively, and our vote? Our voices are the trumpets. We let it out. We let them blow. And then the vases. I got this. Midian in Arabic means place of judgment, geographically in Arab Peninsula. Got it. The vases with the fire in them. to me, and this is just me, I hope it's you. I hope that represents the fire that's in every one of us. The fire to save our country. I hope that fire's in the belly of every one of us. And we simply have to break the vase and let it out. The story of Gideon. The story of Gideon. The story of Gideon is the story of hope for us. Throughout history, there have been many battles won by the much smaller force over that of the prevailing strong in numbers army. You know, I've been a part of that. In Afghanistan in the mid-'80s, the Mujahideen, the most we ever had was 1,800. The most we ever had. The Soviets had 500,000. Oh, Lord, and they had tanks and jets and planes and helicopters and cannons and all the weapons of war, state of the art of that day. 1,800. And that was at the most. Up against 500,000 strong. And you know what? We stayed in there. We fought. We would hit, we'd run, we'd hit, we'd run. I no sooner got out of that one, then I went to a place called Nicaragua. The largest army that we ever had with the Contras was about 3,500. And that was at its greatest point, 3,500. And to the biggest extent of that army, the oldest I had was 16. They were kids. And once again, we were up against the communists. We were up against the Sandinista, Daniel Ortega, his brother Humberto. But behind them were the Soviets. Behind them were the Cubans. Yes, the same Cubans that we just signed an accord with. 500,000 of them. 500,000 against an army at its largest of 3,500. Kids, mostly. You know, folks, twice in my life, I've been with the underdog. Twice. Twice in my life, which is never in most lives, I was up against 500,000. But in both cases, we won. We won. Now, you can't tell we won by looking at it today. But back then, the Soviets left Afghanistan. They left. And Daniel Ortega was forced to Managua 1 and Managua 2 and to step down. Now he's back in. You know why he's back in? Because when we drove him out, you know what came in? A democracy. And guess what happened with the democracy? It failed, and he came back in. Well, I'm told by Alden I missed the first commercial and now the second, and I've got to raise today. If you're out there today, I'm short $900. Are you there? Will you help? Please go to PayPal. When you get there, go to Nichols Live at AOL.com. Nichols Live at AOL.com. And please come and help, please. If you can't use PayPal, go to Larry Nichols, Conway, Arkansas, and there you can go to my Facebook page, and there's a button that you can punch and use your credit card or debit card. But I need your help today, please. I'm sorry I got sick yesterday, but I did. and it's messed everything up. I need your help today. I got this text in from Greg. If we can get through tonight in the cities without riots, we will be 25% of the way there. After that, we have to get through the Republican convention, in the Democrat convention, and then the election, hoping and praying Black Lives Matter and Black Panthers' efforts fail. That's from Greg. All right. No. I don't know if y'all heard. Alden, did they hear what you said? Alden was telling me that it was on YouTube that Pence is for TPT, NAFTA, amnesty, and all that junk. Don't worry about that, folks. Don't worry about that. And I got this. It says, Larry, what you're talking about is the God who brought back Israel. Yes, it is the God that brought back Israel. And then I got another one here. It says, the Israelites were so oppressed for 6 years. They sought refuge in caves, rocks, and holes in the ground. Larry, who do you want to see as Trump's vice president? To be honest, folks, Pence is who I'd like to see as his vice president. And I just got this. Hold on. PayPal, William sent $100. Thank you, William. Now, folks, we're 800 away. 800 away. Thank you, William. Thanks a million, buddy. Who do I want for I want Pence as vice president. You know why? Because it's a worthless job. It's worthless. He can't hurt us there. He can't. Now, hopefully, because of his time in Washington, his time as governor, he's got some experience on moving in and out of Congress and dealing with that. But Pence, to my way of thinking, is the best candidate of the ones that were out there, because I don't want him in a position where he would have anything to do with the way our country's run. Cabinet level positions, they're the people where the rubber meets the road. That's where we need Newt Gingrich or the type. People have asked me, what about Christie? I don't like Christie. I don't like Christie. But I tell you where Christie was good. He was good as a prosecutor. I can see Christie being attorney general. I can. I sure don't want him president. And it would be a waste to have him be vice president, because he was a good prosecutor. No, we're safe. Pence, good place for him. You know, I hear these things. I'm kind of getting off subject here, but I want to go ahead and say it. I hear these things about Pence being for this, that, or the other. Guys, there is no one, no one on earth I know of that is as firmly committed in various different subjects and topics as we are. Each one of us have where we think we should be on all these different things. Well, what we have to do is we've got to drop all of these issues. We've got to look at the big picture. We've got to stand together in one way, one area. And that area is to free this country of the system that is destroying it. I have a caller. Caller, are you there?
This is Terry.
Hey, Terry, how are you, brother?
I'm wonderful, Larry. How are you, sir?
Hanging in there. Hold on, Terry. I just got 100 from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, thank you. So that puts us down to 700, folks. Now, Terry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had talked back and forth, and you had asked me about a list of places for the weekend that these protests and rallies that were going on.
Right.
And I have a full list. not only do I have that list, but last evening we were doing some intelligence and we found where they have picked 5 southern states that they are really going to focus on. The 5 southern states are Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. So folks in those states definitely have to keep their head on a swivel. As far as nationwide, I have a quick list here. I'll just run down the list. And if somebody wants to know an exact time and where, then we can get that information to them. But Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, Little Rock, Arkansas, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, Denver, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Chicago, Des Moines, New Orleans, Baltimore, Boston, Detroit, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Manhattan, Newark, Durham, Columbus, Cleveland, Portland, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Nashville, Memphis, Austin, Salt Lake City, Seattle, and Milwaukee.
All right, there you go, folks. That's where the Day of Rage is supposed to take place. Now, the 5 major cities, Terry, I don't need to tell you, but the 5 major cities coincides with what? The 5 major cities that have 5 major riots at the same time.
Yep.
And what does that do, Terry?
I found something else glaringly interesting.
All right.
And I've spoken with people that have lived through this, but we were speaking about the civil rights movement. And it seems that the states they are targeted, the 5 major states there that they have targeted were instrumental in that civil rights movement. And I think that's important to note because we have to remember these cities have lived through a day of rage before. These states have lived through this. And now history, once again, is coming back to repeat itself.
Yep, as usual.
So here we find ourselves in a situation some 50, 60 years later where we are now facing down the barrel, and in my opinion, a much more violent barrel than the civil rights movement.
You know, Terry, the thing I was asking is those 5 major cities, if they pull it off, if they can get those riots fired up in those 5 major cities, folks, what that does is that triggers FEMA automatically. Yes. Obama would not have to go to Congress. It would be triggered automatically.
Right.
Let's hope and pray that it does not occur.
Well, I will give you my cities that are on my watch list.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, New York around Manhattan, that's going to be an important one. D.C. will be an important one. Atlanta will be important. And here's why I'm picking these certain cities. These are the big major cities that we know they feel they can do the most. So that's East Coast. Now let's move into the Central Time Zone. You have Birmingham, Detroit. You have Texas. You have Tennessee, where they have 2 different rallies going on. If we can get past the Central Time Zone without incident, we'll be all right. But now, if we cannot, if the Central Time Zone goes hot, that will carry the movement forward, and then there will be a backlash to the East Coast.
Well, let me tell you what I think, Terry, and it's my opinion, and that's all it is. They're not going to do squat. They're not going to do squat.
I don't think so.
And I'll tell you why. You know, folks, the reason it failed in 03 or 13, I'm sorry, And the reason it will fail today is because they just were not able to get the notoriety. You see, it just hasn't been broadcast. It hadn't been put out. Now, if all the media had made a big deal out of it, Terry, if all the media had just been making it a big issue, there's a chance it could have happened.
Right.
But without that, they're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to go anywhere with these things. You know,
And this
Terry,
is why I think we have to watch our central time zone so closely, because I don't think those East Coast people are going to be the ones that want to pull the trigger first, so to speak. I think if that happens, it's going to be in the central time zone. So
well, I assure you this. If it were going to occur, Terry, we would already be seeing the buildup. And there's no buildup. None. Now, probably where the people that were planning this thing messed up, they put it too close to the RNC convention, too close to the things that are going on in the media. This would have probably worked, Terry, if they had a time where there was nothing going on in the media, to where the media could have gotten hold of it and made a big deal. But they didn't.
Right.
So I think we've dodged that bullet. But Terry, I'm going to tell you something else too. The blacks and the Black Lives Matter and the Black Panther group, new Black Panther group, they don't want a war. They don't want a war. Now, the leaders of these groups, they want a war of sorts. Not a real war, but they want a war of sorts to where they can grow their organizations. Why? Because if they grow their organizations, guess what? They got more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want a war.
Well, I'm going to give you a rumor. I'm going to give you a rumor that's been put out. And I don't know if it's got any weight to it. Maybe some of the listeners could chime in here and let us know if they've heard anything or whatever. But the rumor is that Sean Hannity was booking his hotel room for the RNC, and one of his aides or assistants or whatever called the hotel to book the room, a relatively nice hotel. And when that assistant called to book that room, she made it clear that, hey, I'm calling to book a room for the convention. And the rumor has it that she was asked, are you with the Soros Clinton party? And as it goes, she played along, being quick on her feet, and said, sure. And said, by the way, how many rooms do we have? And they said, well, there's 3 floors already rented, and we're looking to expect another 2 to 3 floors. Now, this is where the story ends as I got it. And again, it's just a rumor, but I would like to know if there's any validity to that rumor.
Well, I can tell you this, that Soros booked in the Marriott. I don't remember which Marriott in Cleveland, but he booked the 3rd and 4th floor for the Black Panthers and Black Lives Matter. He paid for it.
Yes.
Sure did.
Well, when this assistant called in, they were asked if it was the Soros Clinton party.
Yeah, well, if it is Soros, it is Soros Clinton.
Yeah.
But,
so,
guys, let me tell you something. Terry, let me tell you something. George Soros, years ago, pledged every cent he has to destroy the United States of America. He pledged every penny. And he's lived up to it. Now, and I'll tell y'all another story that I've not told, but I guess it's okay to tell it. Some years ago, I was called, I guess it was 4 years ago, maybe now, maybe it's 3. I received a phone call, and it was a senior vice president for Soros's grant. I can't remember what he called it, but anyway, it's where Soros gave out grants in money. And they asked if I would be interested in participating. And I asked what on earth would I be doing that would have interest to George Soros. And they said at the time that that would be left to be told to me. And where I messed up, Terry, is I probably should have gone along with it, but I just couldn't. Now, there was a reporter that knew about it because the reporter called me and asked me what I was going to do. And I told them I had no interest in anything that had to do with George Soros. And that's where it pretty much ended. So, believe me, they're out there. They're out there in a big way. And Soros wants America destroyed.
Right.
Don't doubt it. Now, the fact that he would have his organization team up with the Clintons should tell you the direction the Clintons want to take this nation.
Well, again, that was just a rumor. I'm just looking for someone who may know something or have an inside story on that I would be able to get a confirmation. That's all.
I understand. Well, if anybody's got the truth, please give us a call. Let us know. How can they get hold of you, Terry? And how can they get in touch with you to join or get information about your group?
Well, our group is called Patriots of the Constitution. We do have a Facebook page, and we'd love for you to join that page. And I have a Facebook page. It's Terry Kelly Flat Top. And Kelly is spelled EY, but it's Terry Kelly Flat Top on Facebook. And on there, you can friend me, message me, whatever. I would love to know if you have anything pertaining to this. And if you do, we'll exchange numbers and talk.
Sounds great, Terry. Give them the name of your organization again, please.
Patriots of the Constitution.
Now, once again, guys, I want you all to know Terry's organization is not some pick up a gun, go run, scream, shout, and shoot off. That's not what they are.
No.
It's a group of people that believe very much in the Constitution. And most all, if not all, are ex-military that still believe in the oath that they swore, just like me.
That is correct. We have military and police.
So, Terry, thank you for what you do, my brother.
Anytime, sir. And thank you for allowing me some moments on your show. I really do enjoy it.
Anytime. Thanks, Terry.
All
right, folks. Terry Kelly. All right, I've got one more commercial to get in. We're about 700 short. So please, if you're out there and can help, will you please go to PayPal, LarryNichols.com, LarryNichols at AOL.com. You can also go to Larry Nichols, Conway, Arkansas, my Facebook page. And there's a button if you don't have PayPal where you can use your credit card, debit card. You can. And by the way, if you want to go to Facebook and do that friend me thing. And when and if it comes time, you'll be on a list where I can get you information. So if you're not a friend on our Facebook page, I wish you would go and do that friend thing. So we've got you where we can get information to you directly. All over this country, there are people just like Terry Kelly. All over this country, there are people like Lisa Haven. People in their way doing what they can to protect and defend this nation. Do not be deceived. It's not easy. It's not easy. But if you're not doing everything in your power to try and save this country, you're missing a roll call that you need to be on, all of you. And if you think that we can't do anything because today we're 7,600 strong, and yes, I said 7,600 strong, just remember the story of Gideon. Remember that story. And above all, to that story, I want you to remember the important thing about that story. That God that was there then is just as alive today, just as strong today, just as willing today to be involved if we'll let him. The things that are going on to destroy this country, that's the devil. It's not God. I don't believe God has a part in all of this sickness that's going on with this country. I just do not believe that. But we have got to get 7,603 messages straight to God through our individual prayers and ask him to come help us, please. Come be with us. And all of you, renew your strength, renew your faith in God. Now, I don't mean to be all preachy and sound like some great Christian, because I am not. I'm not. But you've always heard the foxhole religion. You may not know what that means, foxhole religion. But it's out there every day. Foxhole religion simply is a way to describe how men and women have been. When everything was coming in and death looked certain, things looked bad, the end seemed to be on. And it happens every day when somebody's about to die and they know it. They get very religious then. Then you call on God because everybody wants to go to heaven. Sometimes it's combat. You're in a foxhole with the enemy surrounding you and you beg for God's help. Sometimes it's our life situation where we just beg for God's help. Well, folks, we're in a situation right now where we're begging for God's help, or we sure need to. We surely need to. I got this message from listener 2 in the Army here. When do you plan for us to drill and practice for the telephone calls? Very soon, listener, very soon. And then it's got this one from another listener. Does your listening number include YouTube streaming? No, it does not. So when I say 7,600, that's not counting the ones that are coming in through YouTube. They're just the people online, listening online. And I know you're sitting there, some of you, and say, well, when are we going to make the calls? When are we going to make the calls? We will make the calls when it's time. As it turns out now, it looks like the Rules Committee, just so you know, the Rules Committee has given up on dumping Trump. You know why that is? Why I believe that is? I believe a lot of the reason that the RNC Rules Committee stopped the movement to oust Trump, I believe that to a great extent was because of all of you. You see, the RNC knows that we're all out here. And the fact that they knew thousands and thousands of people were watching, they had no choice but let him get the nomination. And that's a lesson that we all should know and start to learn and start to believe in. My job in some cases is to tell you in advance what's fixing to happen. And by telling you in advance what's fixing to happen, a lot of times we can stop it from happening just because they know we know. Remember, these people are like maggots. They cannot take the light of day. So thanks to you spreading the word as you have, and all the others on all the other programs spreading the word as we have, the RNC was on notice. We were watching. We were watching. And believe me, they felt it. And we're going to make them feel it on a lot more before this is over. A lot more. Look, we're not out of the woods yet. But the fact that that rules committee capitulated is another one of those signs that you need to look at and take hope from. You do. You need to take hope from it. See it for what it is. Know what it is. $700. Who out there can help me, please? I need your help. Got about 3 minutes. That's all I've got left. And then when this 3 minutes up, I have 1 hour. So please, if you're out there, help. If you can at all, please. And I will tell you, my heart is lifted a lot. I didn't get 1,000 that have called or text or sent money, but I got several hundred people that have said they're part of the Army. My heart feels better because of that. So with the weekend coming, with 2 minutes left in this program, somebody out there, please, $700, that's what we're short. Help. And then we'll live to fight through the weekend. And then we'll get back here Monday to stay on guard again. To every man or woman that's joined the military or the police, remember the oath. Protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. When you took that oath, remember, there was no time limit on it. Just because you got out of the Army, that don't mean it's over. That oath stands. Let's stand together, all of us. Let's believe. Let's know. See you Monday.
Over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of, one in a lullaby.